The first light of dawn crept over the hills, spilling gently into the small village. The air was cool and fresh, carrying with it the scent of wet earth after many days of heavy rain. In the middle of this quiet landscape stood D, his hands rough from labor, his body weary from endless work. Yet on his face that morning was something rare, a trembling smile, shining through the tears in his eyes. Before him rose a small wooden house. The walls were not polished, the planks uneven, but to D, it looked like a palace. For months, he had feared the coming winter, knowing that the fragile bamboo shelter could not protect Huyen's weak chest from the cold, nor keep Maya safe from the storms. But now, thanks to the kindness of strangers who had sent them charity money, they had a place they could finally call home. Huyen stood beside him, her hands resting on Maya's shoulders. She too was silent, her eyes glistening. For a woman who had endured hardship after hardship, this house was more than shelter. It was hope. It was proof that even in a world full of cruelty and loss, compassion still existed. She whispered softly, "I never thought in my life we could build this." Maya, her small face lit with joy, ran inside, touching the wooden walls with her little hands as if they were treasures. She laughed, her toothache forgotten, her laughter echoing like music through the empty rooms. "Mommy, Daddy, our house is so beautiful." D closed his eyes for a moment, letting the sound sink deep into his heart. All the back-breaking work in the fields, all the sleepless nights worrying, all the silent tears, it was worth it. Every scar on his hand, every ache in his back was nothing compared to this moment. That evening, as the family sat together for their first meal inside the new house, the wooden walls glowed warm in the firelight. The wind outside no longer frightened them. Inside, there was peace, there was safety, and there was love. D looked at Huyen and Maya, his voice breaking but steady with conviction. "Finally, you have a home. It may be small, it may be poor, but it is ours, and it was built with kindness. No matter how hard life becomes, we will always have this place and each other." And in that humble home, love became the richest foundation of all. That night, the sound of rain returned, tapping gently on the wooden roof. In the past, every drop of rain had been a warning, reminding them of leaks, of cold winds sneaking through the bamboo walls, of nights spent awake, shivering in fear. But this time, the rain was different. It was no longer an enemy. It was a lullaby. Maya curled up between D and Huyen, her small hands holding tightly onto the blanket. "Daddy," she whispered sleepily, "will this house always protect us?" D kissed her forehead and answered, "Yes, my little one. This house will protect you, and I will protect you more." His voice cracked, but he smiled in the darkness, feeling strength in the words. Huyen reached for D's hand under the blanket. For the first time in a long while, her heart was not heavy with fear but light with gratitude. She thought of the kind people who had given them money, people who had never met them but still chose to care. Their kindness had turned strangers into family, connecting souls across distance. In the following days, life began to change. Dee planted vegetables in a small garden behind the house. Huyen washed clothes by the stream with a peace she had not felt before, knowing that at the end of the day, she would return to a safe place. Maya ran barefoot across the yard, her laughter carrying far, calling neighbors to come and share her joy. The house soon became more than shelter. It became a place of gathering. Neighbors brought small gifts: an old chair, a clay pot, some seeds for the garden. Each gesture added warmth to the wooden walls. Even the dog, BB, seemed to understand, guarding the house proudly as if it were the most precious palace. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, Dee sat outside the doorway, watching the sky turn golden. His thoughts drifted to the long road they had walked, the pain, the hunger, the endless searching for safety. He realized now that every hardship had led them here, to this moment. Home, he whispered to himself, is not made of wood or walls. It is made of love, of faith, and of people who refuse to give up on each other. Inside, Huyen called him in for dinner. Maya was already waiting, her eyes bright, her little hands folded in prayer before the meal. Dee wiped the tears from his eyes and smiled, stepping inside the home that love and kindness had built. Days turned into weeks, and the small wooden house slowly filled with life. The smell of wood smoke from Huyen's cooking lingered warmly in the air, and the soft hum of Maya's laughter gave the walls a voice of their own. Each day brought its own rhythm, Dee working in the fields, Huyen weaving mats and mending clothes, and Maya playing with BB under the guava tree. One morning, as the first rays of sunlight painted the yard, Maya skipped toward her parents with a bright smile. She held up a small flower crown she had made. "Daddy, Mommy, look, our home has flowers now too," she said, placing the crown on Dee's head. Dee laughed, his tired face lighting up, while Huyen watched, her heart swelling with a mixture of pride and gratitude. But with the joy also came new worries. The wood for the house had been bought with charity money, and though the walls stood strong, Dee knew it would take more to build a true future. He wanted Maya to go to school, to learn, to have the opportunities he and Huyen never had. One night, sitting by the flickering light of a small oil lamp, Dee whispered to Huyen, "Huyen, we must try harder. Maya deserves more than this. She deserves books, a teacher, a chance to dream." Huyen nodded. Her eyes, though tired, shone with determination. "We will find a way, Dee. Even if we must work day and night, we will not let her life be like ours." The next morning, Dee began taking extra work in the fields, accepting any job he could find. His hands blistered, his back ached, but he endured it all with quiet strength. Meanwhile, Huyen began to trade small things at the market, selling the vegetables she grew, saving every coin carefully in a cloth pouch hidden in the corner of the house. And Maya, innocent and full of hope, remained their greatest source of strength. Every evening she would sit on Dee's lap, asking him to tell her stories about stars, rivers, and faraway lands. Her laughter erased the weight of the day, reminding them why they endured. One night, as the moonlight spilled across the wooden floor, Dee looked at Huyen and said softly, almost to himself, "This house was built with kindness, but the future, we will build it with our own hands." And so, in that humble home, with the support of strangers and the strength of love, their story of resilience continued step by step, dream by dream. The seasons began to change. The rain softened, giving way to brighter skies, and the small garden behind the house bloomed with green shoots. Dee often rose before dawn, his breath visible in the morning chill, to tend the rows of vegetables. Huyen joined him after preparing a simple breakfast of rice porridge, her hands working quickly, her spirit steady. Though their lives were still hard, there was a newfound rhythm, one that carried hope with it. One afternoon, while Huyen was washing clothes by the stream, a neighbor woman named Lan approached. She carried a small basket of eggs and placed it in Huyen's hands. For Maya, Lan said kindly, I know she will need strength. And I heard the village school will open soon. Huyen froze for a moment. Her heart raced as she imagined Maya in a white dress, carrying books, walking proudly with other children. The thought both thrilled and frightened her. She thanked Lan, her eyes filling with quiet tears. That evening, Huyen told Dee about the school. He listened in silence, his rough hands resting on his knees. Then he looked at Maya, who was sitting on the floor drawing shapes in the dirt, with a stick, her laughter echoing. Huyen, he said firmly, we cannot let her miss this chance. Even if we must sacrifice everything, Maya must go. The following days became a whirlwind of preparation. Huyen worked extra hours at the market, trading vegetables and weaving mats late into the night. Dee took heavy labor jobs in the nearby village, returning home exhausted but never complaining. Slowly, coin by coin, they saved enough to buy a simple school dress and a pair of second-hand shoes for Maya. On the morning of Maya's first school day, the house was filled with an energy unlike any before. Huyen helped her daughter dress in the crisp white uniform, carefully ironing out each wrinkle as if she were handling gold. Maya twirled in front of the mirror, her smile brighter than the morning sun. Daddy, do I look like a student now? She asked proudly. Dee, his eyes wet, could barely find words. He crouched down and held her face gently. You look like a dream, Maya, our dream. When they walked her to the schoolyard, Maya clutched their hands tightly. The other children were laughing, running, their voices filling the air like birdsong. For a brief moment, Maya turned back toward her parents, her eyes sparkling with both nervousness and joy. And then she smiled, the kind of smile that washed away every pain Dee and Huyen had endured. In that moment, Dee knew the hardships, the hunger, the long nights they had all led to this day. A new beginning, a chance for Maya to step into a future brighter than theirs. The story of Dee, Huyen, and little Maya is not only about survival, but also about the extraordinary strength of love and kindness. Their journey shows us that even in the face of poverty and hardship, hope can take root when hearts remain united. A small wooden house built with charity money may seem humble to the world, but for them, it was a palace because it was built on compassion. We learn that true wealth does not come from possessions or luxury, but from the bonds we share with one another. Dee and Huyen's sacrifices for Maya remind us that love always chooses to give, even when life offers very little in return. And Maya's smile, bright and pure, teaches us that happiness can be found in the simplest of blessings: safety, warmth, and the belief in tomorrow. This story also reminds us of the invisible hands of kindness. Strangers who donated to help a poor family may never see the joy they created, yet their compassion transformed lives. It is a powerful reminder that every small act of generosity has the power to shape someone's future in ways we cannot imagine. In the end, the greatest lesson is clear. A home is not built of walls and roofs alone, it is built of sacrifice, gratitude, and unwavering love. And when people carry these values in their hearts, even the poorest house can shine brighter than any mansion.